Greetings, I am Pillar Nexus Ancient Gladiator, today with Pillar Loves Tabletop Games. Today's episode is Eldritch Horror Global Mystery Board Game. The goal of the game is to use your investigators to travel the world, get clues, shut gates, and ultimately solve the mysteries of whatever ancient one you're going up against. The base game has 4 of them. Each one will have a varying amount of doom before before it reaches 0 and sets off the final mystery or abruptly ends the game. So as part of the setup, you'll need to find the number of players you're playing with, and then take the appropriate card for the number. You generally want to be playing with an even number if possible, because at an odd number, it's basically the same to no benefit. As part of the setup, let's see. Overall setup stages, shuffling the various encounter decks, the expedition deck, and putting the token onto the same location as the top card. Shuffling the gates, otherworld deck. Before you shuffle the assets, if anyone starts with anything specific, you probably want to find it. Same thing for the artifact deck and the spells and the conditions if anybody starts with a condition. But once you find all that stuff, make sure those decks are shuffled as well. And the gates. A little stack of 9 gate tokens for all the various places where they can open up. You'll need someone to be your lead investigator for the first turn. But yeah, once you have your character figured out and you get their stuff, make sure you start with enough tokens for their health and for their sanity. Characters that are brought to 0 for either are defeated, and the player that loses that character will have to select a new one unless it's in the final mystery stage of the game. Everyone will be in the starting spots with all their stuff, and then they'll go to the first turn of the game. Starting with the lead investigator, each player will take an action phase. Or will take their turn in the action phase. You get 2 actions. Each action can only be performed once per round by each investigator. So, there's travel. Move to an adjacent space. If you have any travel tickets for land or sea, you can spend up to 2 of them as part of the process. For example, let's say I've got a ship ticket with her, or even better, 2 ship tickets. So the free move plus 2 ship tickets, 1, 2, to get to Antarctica and get that clue. Actually getting tickets is called prepare. Prepare for travel. You have to be in a city, which is represented by this black circle with buildings. And you get your choice of either a train ticket or a ship ticket. You can have a maximum of 2 tickets at a time. Strategically, what you might do for one turn is travel and then prepare. And the next turn, prepare again and then make a big move to somewhere else. Acquire assets. You'll need to test your influence, represented by the handshake symbol, in order to get items from the reserve. So yeah, your character has a number of things going for them. Their stats: lore, influence, observation, strength, and will. As well as an action that they can do and a special effect of theirs. So she's got an influence of 2. She's in a city space, so she can attempt to acquire items. Whenever you test anything, you'll get your starting value for your character, any improvement tokens, any items that provide bonuses. You can only use 1, and you probably want to use your highest. So if you've got something that gives you +2, another thing that gives you +3, you want to use that +3. If there's any minuses, then you'll lose that lose dice. You always roll a minimum of 1 die no matter what happens. Once you have your dice figured out and any other bonuses, you roll. A 5 or a 6 is a success. Anything else is not. After you roll, you have the option to take a bank loan for acquiring assets. And get an additional 2 successes. It's down here at the corner. When performing an acquire action, you may gain a debt condition to immediately add 2 successes to your roll. If you really need something, maybe hired muscle is really important right now, it might be worth it. However, the conditions are 2-sided. On one side will be the actual condition itself, and on the back side will be what happens when the reckoning effect goes off. So with debt, as part of a local action, you can test influence and pass to discard the card. To pass, you just need to get at least 1 success. It might take you a while to do it, but it's entirely possible. If the reckoning effect goes off, the flip side is resolved. Reckoning effects are triggered by the Mythos deck, which we'll cover here in a minute. But yeah, even though there are multiple conditions of the same name, each one is going to resolve differently on the other side. Which is why the whole condition deck is just shuffled all together. And just cycle through to the next applicable condition if necessary. So yeah, travel, prepare, acquire assets. You cannot acquire assets if you're in a city with a monster. You can rest. As long as you're not in a place with a monster, you can get back a health and a sanity up to your maximum. And things that trigger off of rest will happen. certain conditions can be affected by resting. You can trade. If two people are in the same space, they can trade anything that's not a condition, basically. So, items, artifacts, spells, clues, tickets. As long as both players agree, or you're one person playing both characters, it's all good. There's component action. So, something you might be able to do is use your character special ability. So, with her, look at the top two gates in the gate stack. Put one gate on top and the other on bottom. So, one of the things we've got to do as part of beating the game is to solve the mysteries. So, doing things, taking actions that help with solving the mysteries is going to help. So, for this first one, when an investigator closes a gate that corresponds to the current omen, they can spend a clue to add an Eldritch token. And with the Eldritch tokens equal to half the investigators, the mystery is solved. So, with her ability, I can cause the next gate to open to be either Tokyo or Istanbul. Since the Omen track is going to cycle around, probably Tokyo, since it matches the constellation. That's probably going to be what happens next when Mythos deck goes off. Or it might have something like the local action, again, like debt. Test your influence and get rid of debt. There'll be other things that you'll discover as you play. Once everyone's done their two actions, it goes to the encounter phase. So if there's no monsters to encounter, you can either encounter your location card. So here is just a generic city. Pulls from the generic location deck. Here, it's got some options. There's encountering a generic city, encountering Sydney to just double down on his strength. So that'll be on the back of this card. There's one deck for each set of 3 cities. There's encountering the gate. In which case, he'll pull from the top of the stack and encounter the past. There'll be an initial challenge, and depending on whether you pass or fail, will determine what happens next. If you close the gate, it'll return that to the bottom of the stack. You want to close gates because every time the Omen track moves, every gate that's of that type, face up, reduces doom by that many. So, let's say the track moves to the constellation and there's like 2 constellation gates out. That's going to reduce doom by 2. There's clue encounters. So, what happens at a clue encounter is there will be a very specific deck that corresponds to researching that old one. And you'll flip it and resolve the type, same as the generic encounter deck. So for C, we'll resolve the C encounter. And by passing those challenges, you'll get the clue. The clues can be used towards closing gates, solving mysteries, and I believe combat rolls as well, which we'll get to. However, you won't be able to encounter any of these if you have to fight a monster. So, fun fact, as part of the setup for the game, there will be at least one gate set up, and on that gate will be a monster. Some monsters have spawn effects, noted in the upper right, showing green. A little green tentacle. When the monster spawns, flip it over and resolve the effect on the back. For this one, when the mummy is spawned, move it to the pyramids. When you encounter a monster, you're going to have to deal with the horror of seeing the monster and then having to physically wrangle the creature or otherwise deal with it. So first you'll have to test against your will. She is brave as hell. For every success short of its actual horror rating, you'll lose that much sanity. One success against 2 means she loses 1. It's not bad. Then you'll test your strength. Her strength of 2, but then the monster is at a puts the player at a -2. So minimum 1 die. Alright. For every success short of its strength, its damage, you'll take a wound. Which means you'll lose that many health. If you do have at least 1 success, you'll also damage the monster as well. And the damage will stay. Do enough damage to the monster equal to its toughness, and it's defeated. Once everyone's done their encounter, it goes on to the Mythos phase. As part of setting up the game, the Old One card will give you some guidance in the bottom left on how to build its Mythos deck. Stage 1 goes on top of Stage 2, goes on top of Stage 3. Each stage contains a number of green, yellow, and blue cards. And the blue ones usually show up for the early stages. So, for example, as part of Stage 1, these cards ended up in there. Green cards are going to move the omen track, the marker for the omen track, clockwise by a step. And all gates of that type are going to reduce doom by that much. They're also going to spawn more monsters. Only the gates of that omen are going to spawn. The amount of monsters that will be spawned at each of those gates is based on the monster surge, which is based on the number of investigators. And then it'll spawn a clue. So you'll draw a clue out of the bag or pile, whatever you assembled. You'll put it at that location. So number 2, the C zone. And then you'll read whatever effects there are from the card itself. So this one is Driven to Bankruptcy. Discard all the cards from the reserve. Or when the reckoning happens, discard this card and place the top 4 back into the reserve. So the events will screw you over in various ways. As part of the dynamic difficulty for the game, certain cards will have like this blue sigil or red tentacles, and you can mix them in as you see fit to make things easier or harder for you, respectively. Yellow cards will also move the Omen track. Any reckoning effects will happen. You know it's a reckoning effect because at the bottom right is that symbol. There's a red reckoning. Every condition is going to have one. Some other things will have them as well. And then after that's resolved, you'll open up a new gate. So, Tokyo. Once a gate is opened, well, oh yeah, the number of gates is also going to be based on your number of investigators. Once the gate's opened, it'll spawn a new monster. You're going to want some kind of box or cup for mixing up the monsters. And grabbing one at random. And again, if it shows a little green symbol in the top right, it may force the monster to move somewhere else. So instead of being in Tokyo, this one ends up in the Himalayas. One of the more common enemy types you'll find is the cultist. Every old one has their own unique cultist, and whenever you would fight a cultist, you look at the old one's card instead. And finally, the blue cards. Blue cards spawn another clue. 9. So it's going to be down here somewhere. There we go. Oh, it's going to be up here. Jeez. And they also launch a rumor. So, rumors were put out tokens at certain spaces. Players can go and have an encounter there towards dealing with the rumor. So, Return to the Ancient Ones. An investigator on space 19 defeats monsters. Expend a clue to place that monster on this card. And then whenever Reckoning goes off, it spawns a monster there. If 4 monsters show up on this space, Doom goes to 0. Which, considering the old one I picked out for this, is really bad. So that's something to deal with as soon as possible. The Mythos deck is one of your timers for the game. If you ever need to draw a Mythos card and the deck is empty, game over. If you end up hitting 0 Doom against Azathoth, it's game over. If you go to take on the final mystery and you don't complete it in time, it's game over. Once the final mystery stage of the game is in effect and players are eliminated, if all of them are eliminated, then it's game over. But if you can solve the 3 mysteries in time, then you can win. Whenever you meet the condition to complete the mystery, You set it to the side, and then you flip up a new one. Do anything you have to do to set it up, and then figure out how to get through it in time. Oh yeah, other things that will come up. Getting defeated. If you lose your last health, your character's laid on their side, the heart. If they lose their last sanity, then it's the brain token. Either way, Doom goes down by 1. It's possible to have an encounter where the character was defeated and pass a certain test, depending on how they were defeated, to potentially retreat Doom by 1 and buy yourself some more time that way. The worst thing that can happen is to have your character end up in a position where they are devoured. They are not left behind. There's nothing to recover the Doom. They are just gone. As long as you're not in the final mystery stage of the game, you can pick out a new character, set up, and join in with the next round. It's also possible to, instead of getting defeated or otherwise hurt, is get delayed. When you are delayed, the only thing you can do is become undelayed and then end your action phase. Yeah. It's fairly straightforward. Take actions, have your encounters, deal with the mythos, and then just try to solve the mysteries before the time runs out. Why do I like this game? I've played Arkham Horror 2nd Edition. I've played it solo. I came very close to winning solo. And if not for being stuck beyond time and space when Azathoth woke up and destroyed the world, I very much could have won it. And while I think that was a nice experience, I like the whole globe hopping adventure just a little bit more. I appreciate the kind of static stats that you can improve by going to certain places. It is weird not having money and instead having influence instead. But you know what? It's fine. I understand when concessions have to be made. There are expansions, and I want to make sure I get enough of them to expand it out to my satisfaction. But that is one of the tough things about whether it's Arkham Horror or Eldritch Horror or any Lovecraftian game, is at some point there's going to be a lot of stuff going for the game. And you're going to have the rules down really well to explain it to other players. To that end, I almost prefer to play experiences like these one player. So look forward to the Watch Me Play It Solo video for this game. But yeah, it's pretty cool. And honestly, I'm not. I'll be terribly honest. I'm not a big fan of Lovecraft or his stuff, but being able to fight back against whatever horrors the universe throw at you, even if it's at a great cost, being able to win is pretty satisfying. So you know what? A game of fighting back against cosmic horrors, why not? Alright, thanks very much for watching. This has been Pillar Nexus, the Ancient Gladiator, and I'll see you next time.